Welcome to TOOKY'S Sidebar, a book club for shitcoin pumpers. I'm David.
I'm Gabe, proprietor and talent watch for top-tier Tooker... I fucked it up. Okay, cut this. You will cut this. This is one of the game cuts you have to cut. All right? Talent hunter for top-tier Tugger talent.
And we're joined by a friend of the show, Penultimo. Welcome, Penultimo. Good to have you with us.
One of our founding stock tuggers. Founding stock tugger right here.
Yeah, one of our primo tuggers. Who produced, if you like that little animation at the start, the maker of the little winky Tookie face. Thank you again for that, by the way, Penultimo.
Of course. Jam. I wear it as a badge of honor that something that I made is actually getting used, even if it's by ultra niche internet celebrities.
Yeah.
Hey,
unlike
elite human
some
capital
people,
celebrities.
Yeah, I've heard some island-based streamers just, they use things once, then throw it away. That's not really our style here,
I'm not going to throw names, but I am hurt. My work is not only appreciated by the true connoisseurs.
Yeah, only the real geniuses. And speaking of geniuses, we got the big brains here together. Cap is really busy playing video games right now, so he couldn't join us. But the rest of us have gathered around to discuss just some light detail, some ideas we've all been bouncing around about the Vibeshift, specifically as reflected by Trump coin, Melania coin, and the Kamala amendment fake out.
And don't forget the ball. Don't forget the inauguration ball.
Which one specifically?
All of them. The fact there's so many inauguration balls.
Yeah, there's so many balls you can't even hold them.
You gotta juggle them.
The crypto aspect I wanted to, I guess, start with. The Trump coin, Melania coin. This, I thought, Gabe, I know you had mentioned you thought about putting your money into this. And I think friend of the show, Cap, actually did put some money into it. What was it like stumbling on it early on? Because I only heard about it after it peaked and it collapsed.
Well, it lasted, you're talking about the Trump coin? The Trump token? Well, a Trump official Twitter account announced it last night, or the night before, I guess, or whatever. Technically it's midnight right now, but so he announced it last night. I was up and I'm like, there's no way. I generally did not think I thought it was illegal. I didn't think he could actually do that as the president to announce a fucking Trump token right during inauguration. But it turns out, no, now there's multimillionaires now. It lasted for the entire night. I forgot what exact percentage it went up. It ran up a ridiculously high amount. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe it'll last another day. Maybe I should and then Melania comes in. Melania opens up her own shit token. Now, apparently, it's I think it's John Jr. took the credit for the Trump one. Melania one is another team. All right, apparently it's a separate team, but Trump Jr. took credit for the Trump token. He took the credit for the Hawk to a tier rug pull on his dad's graduation night,
which is insane. The entire thing is freaking bananas, dude. The idea that any world leader would have a shitcoin, and not only that, is this not the first shitcoin operation Trump has pulled. He also had some NFTs, or several NFT runs, I believe he's done. Another crypto one that CoffeeZilla did, and then it was through kind of a proxy. But the fact they would do this one is a pretty big departure from past presidencies and the way they raise money. Not to say that past presidents did it in a totally prestigious way, but it's a pretty big departure. The Melania one also I find interesting because a lot of people were bashing Melania as, this woman, woman following the man, woman following the whatever, stealing his riz.
He's real. His token's real.
Yeah, I was just like, dude. No woman no sentient woman has ever said, I should start a shitcoin. Said no woman ever. This is a fucking product. This is a product being packaged by other people and or the broader team behind them and pushed out as a thing. And it kind of taps in on, I don't know if you guys listen to I did a stream with Prude on Purple Jack Plapjacks, and then me and Cap did
that was a good one. That was one of the best discourse corners for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, and the main thesis of that and the follow-on was that we're experiencing a shift in the meta of shitcoins, and I feel like this is a part of that story. I don't totally get what it is.
I want to say that this whole debacle just really proves that Trump is really the man of the age, because as you said, no other president could have pulled this off. You couldn't have seen a Joe Biden coin, a Hillary Clinton coin, an Obama coin. Maybe there were a bunch of those back in the day, like the Sonic 420 Obama shit coins that people used to do back in 2020. But like the fact that Trump was able to pull this off in the way that it happened, with the true energy, like only characteristically to the internet, I would say that he is the avatar of late 2020s, of 2020 in general.
If I have to say, by the way, speaking of avatar, I'm going to have to go bring out an old head reference. Spengler talks about this, actually. This is a moment of Caesar's. Because Julius Caesar was notorious for this. History fags can correct me on this. If I remember correctly, Caesar started putting his face on coins before he even became leader. Like it was a new wave Excuse me, it was a new wave branding thing.
Okay, very new wave belch of you, by the way.
Yes, it's agentic. It's a naturalistic, right? So Caesar actually put his face on coins before he even got a political office. It was during when he was young and virile and trying to hype himself up. So this is another aspect of esoteric Trumpism, where Trump is trying to inhabit that Caesarist kind of spirit, where he's, instead of putting his face on a coin, he's putting his face on a digital token.
I don't know if you're saying this to purposefully shit test me. If you saw my earlier post, but my comparison was actually Caesar based on this. This is from a Joseph Tainter collapse of complex system point of view, energy aware perspective. I had earlier posted something that was obviously everyone hated and ignored, unlike my Gooner posts, which everyone loves. I posted a genuine post, which was about what this reflects. And I have more thoughts I'm still struggling with on this, but what this reflects in terms of where the American empire stands. And if you look at it from an energy perspective, young empires and young emperors are built on building complex systems by exploiting the stored energy value of other peoples that have been generated over generations over long periods of time, be that in fossilized forms or material that's been developed or ideas. And the example I used was Gaul. Caesar goes to Gaul, conquers thousands of slaves, or steals thousands of slaves, mountains of gold, brings it back to the imperial core. Late emperors, which I think was what Trump fits the mold of, are instead the value is in the capital, it's in the imperial core already. And so he's actually cannibalizing, and it's not him directly, I know it's a team of people, but he's actually cannibalizing his inner core with these kinds of moves in a predatory way.
No, see, I disagree. I disagree with this. I think this is actually the most high expression of the first version of what you just said, because you have no idea how much of the percentage of the people that went into that coin were Indians that wanted to be millionaires. He just made India 2% poor.
That would be incredible, actually. That was the case.
That's how you deal with the H-1B visas. You had to systematically ruin them economically and force them to leave.
Offer them a golden ticket and then just be oh, actually, you know what? It was in Trump bucks. It's not worth anything to you.
You actually, Ahmed, you cannot redeem this time around.
Exactly.
It might be. I'm skeptical long term of the consequences of this. This is we'll put this out in the next couple of days, hopefully, but this feels like a bigger sea change to me than what people are saying. Like I haven't seen much buzz about it. Maybe because it's just so fresh, the Washington Post hasn't had a chance to shit their pants about it.
Well, to talk shit, you mean talk shit about the fact he did a pump and dump right
They
before?
did a pump and dump, and then he's a king, and in that way. And then the other side of this, the state of the vibe shift, the whole Kamala amendment, and just how, I was actually talking to my dad about this. I was visiting him for the holidays, and the neutral holidays. We're taking Christmas back. It was for fucking Christmas, and I was talking to my dad, and just about he actually observed independently just how little liberal people, like just the change in tenor in real life among more liberal people, more orthodox libtards, and my dad was even using the phrase libtard independently.
Based.
Yeah, and
he's learning. Yeah. He's evolving. He's learning.
These are changing like really rapidly.
Call me when he says shitlib, though. Shitlib is like the true mark of a connoisseur in these circles.
Yeah. Call us when he learns truth, nuke. But actually, in terms of, do you think because they don't see a danger in Trump? Do you think they finally they realize that Trump is not dangerous? There's not going to be a Trumpenreich. The quote unquote alt right is not in the face anymore. Vox is not posting, pictures of Nima Parvini talking shit about Chipotle and Patrick Casey, or the hell they don't have the Spence anymore. They don't have, the boogeyman anymore because realize there's no Antifa. Where's the fuck is Antifa?
Antifa's give it a second. Give it a second. It's gonna happen. There's also gonna be BLM riots, so I'm predicting this.
Dude, if this was the old days, Passage's coronation ball they did with Steve Bannon. There's no way. Back in the old days, there would have been Antifa showing up to that. Absolutely, there would have been Antifa showing up to that. The fact that Steve Bannon can hang out with e-girls and art hoes and fucking crypto bros in downtown Washington D.C. and there's not even a whisper of street fights at all or shit talking at all. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it does say something that there is like a new elite. It is like the whole thing of like the vibe shift is real in the sense that the people that are getting in are a new elite that are replacing the older ones. And you can tell my best suspicion about this is like with the whole Biden speech. I don't know if you guys saw this where he was talking about oligarchs and there's like a cabal of oligarchs or whatever that.
Yes, I think he said the technological a complex. He tried to steal fucking Eisenberg's line.
Eisenhower, yeah.
It's funny that all the discourse I heard about that speech, even from leftists everywhere, was both right wing and leftists. Everyone was just saying like, there's always been oligarchs. What are you talking about? It's like it's this guy. It's like nobody rallied behind the sentiment as you would think they would do in denouncing the clearly new set of elites that are coming behind Trump. Instead, they're just going around saying like, they're just mad that it's not them this time, right?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think the libs are just exhausted, and with the vibe shift,
I would agree.
It's definitely top down. I think generally when Zuckerberg, because think about Zuckerberg saying on Joe Rogan, like Silicon Valley is much too feminine. It's way too feminine. We need to be more masculine. I think Silicon Valley was much more innovative with masculine energy. Now for us, that's just normie talk. But you got to realize for Zuckerberg, that's like huge because we all old heads remember James Damore. Remember James Damore?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
the guy with the huge nose. They got fucked over by Google.
Yeah, him saying men and women were different 2-3 years ago. Could get canceled in previous days. Zuckerberg and Elon Musk calling people retards. You could say pussy again. Like it's a total vibe shift. It literally is. It's a total elite theory vindication. As soon as Elon Musk stood up and did the whole, you know what, I'm pro-Trump, and just went all in. Like, he's the sin eater. And to use Rene Girard's, he's the scapegoat. He's taking and all the libs hate Elon Musk now. Yeah, them releasing tutorials on TikTok how to destroy magnets in your local Tesla car, or whatever. Some crazy shit about like how to destroy Teslas, right? Elon Musk is being the sin eater, basically absorbing all the bad press. So all the other people like Mark Andreessen can quote tweet like a Confederate flag and saying, "Yeah, this is true California vibes," and no one bats an eye. right? And Mississippi and Alabama can announce that they're celebrating, in addition to MLK, also Robert E. Lee again, which is also, yet again, for old heads, is actually kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
A lot of it, I think, is just so there's the literal formation of the power structure of the Biden administration, which is just a humiliation for that kind of ideology. And I think it's just also a lot of their promises of 2020 not coming for any kind of fruition. And so it just seems like that particular brand of orthodox leftism is just, and I posted about this on Exeter, it's just deeply embarrassing for people to publicly acknowledge any kind of loyalty to. And so it seems like people are just in droves quiet quitting, quietly stepping away from it, not really, no one's going to be saying, oh yeah, I was at the 2020 riots. I'm skeptical of if there's going to be any major pushback in the next few months. It just seems like they don't have a strength of belief that they had. And I think it's going to reform. I think it's going to take a couple years. I just don't know what form it's going to take. And I think it just, I've seen some people talk about them, just they sort of spent their load in 2020 and then the hangover.
I think we saw a picture of what it could become with the whole Luigi Mangiani thing. It's like you saw a figure of like the leftists that were disappointed with the whole regular progressive talking points and wanted to be like edgy leftists again and like talk about killing the rich and all this sorts. That there was like, I think the whole Luigi Mangiani or whatever his last name was, I don't remember. It's like discourse was extremely it was extremely organic. Yeah. And you could tell that the regular figures didn't like it, so that it was kind of like swept under the rug. But you can tell that that's where it's that's where it's going, I would say. It's like they're gonna abandon the progressive holy cows, and like I think they want to move there, and that's dangerous, but also a welcomed change in my opinion. Like I prefer hearing that than pushing truants everywhere,
Well, so you're saying they can necromance the old Bernie Bro bones again, basically. That's their most viable weapon.
I don't know if it's necromancy. I think it's actually, I'm gonna go shout out myself, pat on the back. I think it's gonna go into more of that parapolitics direction, like I called out way back when. Luigi is a particular like weird variant of that. Like he's more anti-capital, but that I think is a more palatable ideology of there's like a cabal of the rich, and then they can talk about there's a more esoteric side. And you know what else it falls into? It allows in the internet age, it allows, like the e-right has formed, it allows the formation of these like hyper-focused, hyper-literate in very narrow areas, sort of subcultures that do well in the online sphere. I say that self-aware that I'm a part of that world in a way.
So what you're saying is they're going to do an e-left? They're going to try to manifest the e-quote-unquote left? Like what, like a bread tube? You think bread tube's going to come back?
Not bread tube, because bread tube was Big Troon.
True. Yeah, I mean, literally, half of them became truants.
They did, yeah. And I think they're stepping away from troonishness because I think that is deeply embarrassing when done at a broad scale and you can see the actual side effects. I think it's going to be quietly set aside. And I think it's going to be, in terms of like mass popularity, obviously there are always big oligarchs that like pull the strings, but I think mass popularity, I think you're right, Penultimo, it's going to be Luigi, parapolitics, and maybe a mix of dirtbag leftism. Kind of
agentic sentiment and like and dare I say Schmitten, Spenglerian.
Yes, exactly.
Are they going to embrace masculinity? Are they going to let the Bernie Bros be bros again? I think what you're saying is basically they're going to put the woke away. It's the AA argument basically. They're going to put the woke away.
I don't know if they're gonna be able to though. It's like, could they do it? That was like the argument against it, was that they can't do it because they just have sunk so much into it. But you can tell that they want to. They would to put the woke away.
I can see Gavin. So the scenario of which political formula is in control. We all know when those black Shaniquas came up to Bernie Bro, or Bernie Bro himself, and actually interrupted his speech and all about Black Lives Matter and all this kind of thing. With how Gavin Newsom is kind of like signaling, if a Gavin Newsom type, when something like that happened and he told them to get the fuck off the stage and totally ignored them and totally told them to fuck off, it's like, we don't play identity politics, or this is not the way, or something like this, it would show that they're put the woke away. That would be a very strong show of strength that they're not playing identity politics, or they're actually putting the woke away. I don't see that. I don't think they can. I generally do. I think they're true believers. I think a lot of them are true believers. The only Machiavellian Democrat left is James Carville at this point. He's the only one of any practical thoughts in his brain.
Well, there's just some people who literally can't leave it. So there will always be people that, or there will be for a long time, people that are the current orthodox that will just stay within it, right? So people that have sexually transitioned are kind of trapped into what the pharma oligarchs, who are now currently being diminished, right? Their sort of frame that was put up. They're kind of trapped in that, like, biologically speaking, unless they transition out of their current state. But there's a lot of people who are just grew up, went to high school, are the raped, dare I say, and have to know, and they have a very normie sensibility. It's like, oh, you know what? Just don't be a jerk, dude. Just, have you tried that? Have you ever thought about that? Just don't be mean. Don't
be a decent hacking person.
Yeah, so there's a lot of those people, and they will adopt in a very mild form the woke, but not in the shrill form that, like, we interpret it as. And you can still be a stay-at-home wife in that mindset, right? You can still be, it's not girl bossism, it's not wokeism, it's
decentism.
It's decentism, class consciousism, and the parapoliticalism. I think that triad is the formula for sort of a actual organic, something's capable of growing organically that can obviously be somewhat controlled from the top. It's hard to predict how it'll be influenced exactly from top levels, because we just don't have insight into, like, that world at the level that we would need to. But obviously, Trump and co are becoming more, there's also foreign influence things to keep in mind. Trump and co are becoming more Indian influenced, obviously, like, unironically, like, what's her name? The chick that's the half Asian chick from Hawaii, like, she is.
Mommy Gabbard. No, don't talk shit, Mom. You can shit on Vivek, but you cannot shit on Mommy Gabbard.
She is an Indian influence vector, actually. Like, her cult that she's a part of is like heavily Hindu connected. She has Hindu nationalist connections, like very deep Hindu nationalist connections. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen pictures of her with it, but with like a political party in India. But I don't know.
She's part of a cult based in Hawaii. She grew up in it. I forget the name of it, but it's a what's the guys? The guys are at airports saying, like, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita. You know what I'm talking about? Hare Krishnas. They're a Hare Krishna descendant cult, and she grew up in it, and she's still a member of it. Anyway, all to say, that is a major influence in the Trump campaign. The leftism thing, obviously, it will have the diminished pharma people. God knows, I don't know who other foreign interests will be. It will be more like China or whatever, but that will also be a component. I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm just saying, I think that's the formula for success. Kind of building on what you're saying, Penultimo, of, like, where's the actual interest?
You know what I'm expecting? I'm half expecting. Do you remember this old talking point of, like, how in 2008 with the whole Occupy Wall Street, it was the banks that suddenly pulled out the identity politics stuff to, like, distract people from, like, attacking the 1%, whatever. I'm expecting that to come back in some way for the left, and as a reaction, you're gonna have boomer cons, or like the current Conservative Party, be like, no, are based CEOs and are based Indians and they're gonna try to like have the DEI come into the Trump movement, and it's gonna be like the right wingers are gonna be the real tolerant,
I see that too. Yeah.
What big Trump
it's the shift to capital, right? Like we're serving capital now, or quote unquote we.
So you have decentism on the left, which is their like containment ideology, their containment political formula. You know what the Trump version of this is going forward? It's going to be like national MAGA Miami-ism. In my Trump, it's culturally MAGA. What does being pro MAGA mean in Miami? You love Trump, you love money, making money, get that hustle, get that grind set. We ain't woke, we don't, we ain't pussies, but we're all, 101 flavors of different ethnicities. Scott Greer wrote a good essay about this, either in Distant Review or maybe in one of the Raw Eggs mag. I can't remember, but like basically go see Andrew Tateism, like that hustle culture. Like MAGA is hustle culture central, basically. 101 different flavors of mystery meat, but we're all just about a hustle and masculinity, that very vulgar masculinity thing. So big MAGA is literally Miami-ism, and decent person-ism is going to be like Tim Walz. They're going to I think you're going to double down on Tim Walz-ism with a little bit. They're going to bring back the edge, because I just saw on Twitter right now AOC called Trump a radicals predatory, but in a bad way, not in a good way. And she's like, and people are saying you should sue Trump should sue her. And he's like, go cry about it, snowflake. She's trying to do, see, you're the woke, you're the... They're trying to do the whole thing they did since the bread tube days. Like, the right is the real snowflakes. They're so raped. Their brains are raped from getting owned so hard by SJW Central, who still posts to this day, by the way, actually. If you look him up, he still posts to this day. Like, they still think in that rhetoric. Like, the right are the real snowflakes. That's the best they can come up with, is to make them slightly edgy again.
Could this be the return of the scumbag left with Chapo Trap House? Whatever happened to those guys?
Well, yeah, you're going to see that with the whole way you said about Luigi. I think that their strongest, their strongest partisan, to get Schmitty, their strongest message, their strongest ore is the I'm a decent hacking person, I'm a leftist, my student loans their backbone has always been the white aristocrat kind of college student. It's always been, and they kind of have to lean back into it. They have to go full Luigi enjoyers. They have to embrace the Luigi cult, I think, in order to have any combative ideology. They have to lean into it.
I'm surprised there haven't been any copycats, to be honest. Like, I thought that with all the attention this guy got, like, you would have thought that there would have been at least one copycat trying to get fame as well.
During the reign of the oligarchs, within the next 2 years, I think you're going to see another event like this. After living 200, you can see the manifesto already because they are trying to portray this as a cyberpunk kind of thing. Even Grimes, even Elon Musk's side piece, right, is talking about the oligarchy. All social media, all military hardware, all of it's owned by only a few men. Take of that what you will. They're trying to construct a cyberpunk universe around this. They're trying to, my life is a video game type beat, but with the situation at hand. Because the MAGA has the young, it has Silicon Valley, it has the counter elite now to go elite theory. They officially have the elites now. Andreessen, the Theo Network. I think if you look it up, almost a dozen to 16 members of either the Thiel Foundation or Thiel's college buddies or whatever. People with Thiel connections going back decades are in the administration now, almost a dozen plus at this point. So you're going to see the quote unquote tech right or tech bros. They're completely have Trump by the balls at this point.
Yeah. No, and I think the whole Trump thing, that's the other thing. I think people need to be careful not to view this as a win for right-wing traditionalist-minded people, because the people seizing power ultimately are still in service of big capital, and big capital is not in service of individual peoples. They're looking to obviously maximize their wealth. This H-1B thing has been the most illustrative example of that. In terms of the vibe is shifted in terms of the top power structure is not trying to impose that specific ideology, but it's still in service of the mechanisms of empire and the structuring of importing peoples and labor value, like minimizing labor value. So I think that's not changing. And so I think people need to be careful on the right not to self-identify with the Trump regime and the Trump team, because these are very much and very quickly, increasingly will become the Teal network. A lot of these people have already been in power to some extent. They're just becoming more dominant in power. So that I think right wing people, many of them have been very sober in their analysis, but a lot of them have been, I think, overly optimistic in terms of or self-identifying with a victory that's not theirs.
Well, I mean, we're going to have, it's basic. It's NRX 101. You're going to have an elite. You're going to have to have the pincer move, to have to do the high, low versus middle thing. You're going to have money. You have to have someone backing you, right? I'm not, a counter. We needed a counter elite. We need someone with actual resources. We need Eric Prince. We need him and his homies, to guard our events. In this case, the old true Antifa ghost might pop off again, Because don't get us wrong, Antifa is still there. The members, it's like all of them died. Base Stickman didn't kill them all back in the day. I just generally do. They're sleeping. What?
They didn't die. They haven't been activated yet. I mean, this only confirms that what everyone knew back in the day, that Antifa is completely astroturfed and funded by some figures in the back, right? So they just haven't been activated yet. A more valid question, I would say, more likely that it's organic, would be like, do you guys think that there's going to be another women's march, like after this inauguration? I mean,
I don't think so. It depends, because another interesting aspect of this, what I noticed really, really hard, is the proto-South Koreanization of America. If you look on the social media space, I do think women will be more radicalized. I think they have to lean into their, coastal women, like very like a boss bitch kind of thing. These normie, like working women, they have to like make them more paranoid, make them more mentally ill. You have to really hit them on their nerve of their natural weaknesses. I think they're going to have to do it more, because when you saw it on. There's a beautiful chart. There's a chart about how the young Zoomer men are going right wing, but it's only by an inch, basically, for all intents and purposes, and women are exploding into leftism. So you're going to see, I think you're going to see something like a closing, not all the way to the 4B movement of South Korea, but that's one of their strongest nerves they can pound upon to get agitation off the ground, basically, is the gender divide.
What I'm hearing is that Nutcracker 2 will happen.
So much material.
The live action adaptation.
I just haven't seen. I don't know. I mean, I do see some leftist women, but I haven't seen any appetite for anything approaching a women's march. And particularly at the top, again, looking at the main news networks, things like that, they've only lost power since. And everything I've seen from the leftist sphere seems to be just a lot of wheel spinning and just it seems like they're just waiting for something. Maybe they will activate Antifa. At this point, I feel like they missed the boat. Like, if you're not going to gather around and rally and do a show of force at the start, I do think the Luigi lone shooter strategy may be the more probable outcome. Particularly if it is centrally controlled, and then the powers that be are shifting, maybe some people are, and just from what I've seen, people are watching their ass in the federal government and starting to like prep for big changes. And I don't think it's going to change completely, but I think people at the CIA probably are like, okay, Teal knows intelligence agencies, like he works with them, so don't fuck with them, because they're actually going to start snooping around pretty shortly. This is not like Trump 1, where it was just, sort of a rogue candidate with a few conservatards.
I mean, I would agree that the lone shooter thing also, you gotta see that it caters to the classic slacktivism that works the best online, because it only has to be one guy that does it. And I'm not condoning it. I'm NSA no bully classic, right? Like I'm not saying that people should be doing it, but it's perfectly catered to the kind of discourse that people do online. It's like one guy did it, they lionize him, you have all these people online showing their support.
Yeah, and you get your 2 months of fame.
Yeah, and they feel like they did, and everyone feels like they did their part. Like, oh yeah, we're totally, the revolution is happening, guys. And I mean, it's gonna definitely make it so that the United States feels like a more dangerous place for sure. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, like it definitely is gonna define the kind of discourse that you'll see. I think.
But another aspect is, of course, we should talk about the fact that we should pick the bones, to use an old cathedral. What would the big stream CNN is getting sued into oblivion at this point? Or Jeff Bezos put a leash on the Washington Post, I forget what magazine he owns or whatever. And yet again, the mainstream media is not freaking out. We're not getting daily "the world is ending" articles left and right. They're moderating. The LA Times guy is moderating. It's crazy how much.
I don't know, man. Democracy still dies in darkness, I think. That's still the slogan, right? Of the Washington Post.
They just did an interview with fucking Moldbug. The fact that they even did an interview with Moldbug and let him speak and give him a cool black and white fucking photo op. The fact that they even had to, it's a signal upon itself that these ideas are, they can't ignore it anymore. Right, that they can't just do a throwaway. The far right monarchist blogger that influences J.D. Vance, like Rachel Maddow, who had old school 2016 fit about Moldbug. It went before the election. It went Rachel Maddow talking about Mencius Moldbug and throwing it homeless into biodiesel generators. And it went to New York Times. The New York Times interviewing Curtis Yarvin, right, in his cringe ass biker jacket. And like, yeah, he doesn't treat them respectfully, but the very fact that they did the interview alone implies the fact that they have to talk to us, they have to engage in the ideas.
I mean, they might also be getting ready to co-opt it, right? Like you might see people, like, yeah, they're gonna acknowledge the ideas, but they're also gonna see how they can spin them into being something that doesn't actually change anything.
Well, I think in a lot of ways, to go full AA for a moment, I think you're going to see this how the Israel thing is going to be played out. I think you're going to see this in terms of military, right? Morgoth did an excellent interview with Benjamin Boyce recently, and he's talking about, he thinks that the whole Greenland thing, Canada thing, which comes out of the blue for Trump, he never talked about, well, he made jokes about Greenland before, but Trump seems to be somewhat serious about these kind of, globalist impulses. It seems in Morgoth's terms, this is winter behavior. This is the empire trying to shore up its borders, trying to protect its borders before it collapses into hinterland. It's a move of weakness rather than strength.
It is. I 100% agree with that. I was joking with someone that it's like, we really need to invade the Scythians right now. Like this is like we need a fucking distraction. We need some wild goose chase rather than southern border.
I have a theory of who that's gonna be. I don't know if you guys have heard like the whole drama with Venezuela lately. But I have a theory that that's going to be the new issue in the Trump administration that they're going to have. And it's not going to be Mexico. I think it's going to be Venezuela, the next battleground. I don't know if you are like aware of how that's going.
So what you're saying is they need white boys to die in their wars again.
What happened? What's with Venezuela? I know last drama I heard they were really pushing, maybe that was late Trump. This was years ago. But they had a big push to try and do something and it fizzled.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing is that they had elections recently and there was like some very, very like crass fraud, but more open than what you usually would expect from a country like that. Mm-hmm. It's like everyone knows that the government over there, like all these governments, like their elections are always very shady, and they have been getting like 80% allegedly in every single election so far. And in this one in particular, there was like a whole spiel where it was like it was clear that Maduro, the guy that is like currently in power, didn't win, but that they literally shut down the counting booths and everything like in the middle of the night, and suddenly at like 3 a.m. it's like, oh, by the way, we won, right? And so there's
very third world, not all like America.
Extremely third. Yeah, but it was extremely crass. But the thing is that after that, there's been like a lot of talking of like America should like intervene here, and there's been all this of like, oh, Maduro now has like a bounty on his head, and there's like this the leader of the PMs of some PMC movement, like he was saying that he could totally do it. And I think that like it's not the first time that it's happened that America talks about invading Venezuela. And I know I'm particularly aware of this because I'm down here in Latin America, right? But the last time that it happened was during the Trump administration as well. And I was utterly shocked that they didn't do it. Because when have you ever seen America reject an opportunity to do something like this? But the fact is that this time it would be particularly opportune for them to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a chance of like that they're going to invade Venezuela and you're going to see like a mountain of Venezuelan refugees, and that's going to be like the new base, the new like,
Cubans or
the new Cubans, exactly.
Just dump into Miami.
Exactly, and it's gonna be the new base of like, oh yeah, check out these Venezuelans. They just want to be Americans, and they're gonna be like the people that they're gonna keep bringing in for the replacement, but that they're gonna have an excuse for this time. It's like, oh no, these are different. It's like the Syrians, It's like, no, these are different. These are something that we did or something or whatever. And meanwhile, Venezuela is like a particularly important place for them to change because it not only has like the most oil in the region, I think it has the biggest reserves in the world after Saudi Arabia, but also it's like the Chinese and Russian stronghold in South America. So it would it's always been a matter of like geopolitics, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if that's like something that happens. But it might just be also because I get to hear about it very often that I think that.
Well, to be clear, the term you use is something. Are we under the assumption that something will happen during this administration? Is it nothing ever happens first? Don't be broken.
You're right. Fuck. Yeah, I retract everything I just said. It's not gonna happen.
On that note, though, I wanna put a bow on everything we've discussed and like say like what's the official TOOKY'S mag predictions. I'm putting Cap's signature on this as well in absentia. So let me summarize what I'm hearing. So Venezuela as a possible target of geopolitics, where there's a full-fledged invasion or just gay ops or something.
Probably gay ops.
Gay ops I think it's like very likely. And then the full-fledged, I don't know if the stomach's there, but that seems like it's so something to keep an eye out for. It seems like our overall observation on the Vibeshift, Trump coin, Melania coin, maybe that's the new norm. Maybe that's just what people do when they win. They just launch a shit coin.
Yeah, in terms of Vibeshift, you're gonna for the normies. If we're gonna do Overton window, you're going to see 2014 era normieism come back. Are traps gay is going to be the front page of Reddit in the next 4 years. That era of norminess is going to come back, basically.
Coming back to the shitcoins, I want to say that I think that's going to be the test of whether somebody can become a president or not in the future. Is your candidate charismatic enough to be able to scam millions of dollars out of random idiots on the internet? Then he probably could win the election,
I agree. And is your inner cabinet dream blunt rotation material or nightmare blunt rotation material, right? Because think about Kamala walls, like last fucking people you want to be in a circle with outside of the 7-Eleven. Whereas Trump, Vance, who else you have?
It's the death of credentialism. Nobody cares if you studied or anything. Just like what's your vibe if you were to share a blunt together.
Exactly. That's all that matters. That's the new meta if you want to get elected. So I think that's a big part of it. What else we got? And then the other aspect I think we're tapping into is our prediction on the triumvirate of what's the new vibe going to be on the leftism side. The Luigi is sort of the prototypical, like the point of reference on this. And we're saying, help me out, guys. So parapolitical, dirtbag leftism, and what was the third one? Just don't be mean. Don't be a jerk.
Hecking personism. Hecking personism.
That's a perfect way to encapsulate it.
You're going to see a lot about toxic masculinity. I think that's the strongest one is gender, about we need a women.
I don't think it'll be toxic masculinity. That's wokeism.
No, they're going to rebrand it, but about women's place and that kind of thing. The fact that it's so pro masculine or quote unquote normie masculinity. And another aspect, I think, to harp on that point about, I think about the parapolitics bros or the cyberpunk bros, or the Bernie bros. I think overall, I think in a lot of ways we got to think about with the vibe shift. What's the post-Trump political party, the Republican Party, going to look like? I think in a lot of ways what Theo's trying to do with Trump is just use him as a crowbar into the Republican Party. Basically, crowbar, get all the Bushites, get all the neocons, and just fill it up with Silicon Valley. The Republican Party is basically going to just be the Silicon Valley Party, basically, for all intents and purposes.
I mean, which is an improvement from neoconservatism, but it's not necessarily good, I would say.
And another aspect with the Empire, with the Spenglerian reading or the Morgoth point, I think they will, because there was just a whole rumor about Trump labeling the cartels as terrorists, and that we might actually do something to the southern border. I actually think this might also be the case. But again, it's not for based reasons. I think this is genuinely like, oh shit, we might actually, we fed our golems in the south of, because all cartels rely on feds to certain, there's 101 different flavors of glowy in the cartel scene in south of the border. And I think they don't have due to the competency crisis, I don't think they can contain a Leviathan anymore in the south of the border. And so for pure just like real politics security reasons, they have to let the judge, we have to have white boys die in the war. So I'm not going to say full like boots on ground invasion of Mexico, but you will see gay ops. Like with the Venezuela topic, it'll be 100% gay ops in Venezuela, 100% gay ops in Mexico. You'll be a little bit of photo ops on the southern border, tough guy posturing on the border, right? But you're going to see something with the southern border, especially with how Mexico, the Jewish lady who runs Mexico, suddenly being very compliant with Trump out of the blue. It also seems very suspect.
Well, they're both, Chabad guys. They're both like very Zionist controlled, so they're probably just, their kids attend the same synagogue, but because all Trump's grandchildren are Jewish, so just something to keep in mind. I
want to throw like an alternative version. It's like we're discussing of what it could be to happen to the left, but the alternative is also that they just double and triple down on the regular progressive shit livery, I think that could also happen, because I saw when Kamala Harris, when the elections happened, I was shocked to see in more than one occasion, and not just from any people, but from like someone like Jon Stewart, out of all people, arguing that the fact is that the left lost because they weren't leftist enough, actually. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but like Jon Stewart made a whole skit of like, oh yeah, everyone's saying that it's because they went overboard with the leftism and nobody wants to hear that. But look at all these ads of political candidates in clearly conservative states that are running for the Democrats that are like promoting guns and talking about family values and stuff. The fact is that the Democrats just weren't leftist at all. And that's why they lost. And if they triple down like that, it's not going to end well for them, in my opinion.
I don't think they can triple down. And the thing is, they don't have a vanguard. They don't have their version of J.D. Vance or their version of the Silicon Tech Bros. Democrats are a very old party.
Yeah. I think institutionally they could double down, but it would just speed up the process we're talking about, I think. And then, which they might. I think I agree with you that it could happen, but it would lead to what we're talking about, I think, just in a faster format.
Fair enough.
So the thing is, they're going to have to clear house. They're going to have to. The Democrats are going to have to internally clear. The only surviving members may be Booty Bug, like Peter Booty Bug, or what the fuck his name is.
Butt Plug, Peter Butt Plug.
Be your butt plug. Like he did. You're going to see him going all. You're going to go 100% Joe Rogan. 100%. Pete is going to be gay Obama, gay white Obama. Let me rephrase: gayer white Obama than the already gay Obama. All right, you're going to see Pete Bootybug going on all these different like light masculine podcasts. He already did that with the Jubilee thing. You saw Pete Bootybug went on the Jubilee thing. Yeah, the closest thing they have to JD Vance is Pete Bootybug.
That's a far cry.
They were thinking of Gavin Newsom, but then with this whole California thing, like, I don't think he's gonna be able to like get it now. I mean, it's gonna take a while for people to forget this California fire disaster.
Yeah, the most youngest, most agentic member who of any like face is fucking AOC, and she has almost zero influence. And Nancy Pelosi keeps on, and she's gonna get milked in less than 24 hours. Nancy, she will get milked. I think it's Nancy Pelosi has been constantly slapping her down in terms of backroom politics. If this is a running theme, Nancy Pelosi, the old vanguard of the Democrats, absolutely hate AOC wing's guts. Basically, they never let them do anything.
One more last thing. I'd like to wrap up shortly, but in terms of the vibe shift, AOC being like a younger candidate, you know what else just struck me? Sam Hyde as president 2030.
Let's go.
Unironically.
He could at least be a senator, for sure.
I think the recent display, I mean, he's just a smart guy, and just think about Trump, how people understand. I don't know if he even wants to go into the political world. I'm just saying, I think he is going to be a bigger figure. He has the competence. He has like sort of a built-in network. He's been more edgy and he's more outcast than before, but all of a sudden now it just seems like he's more.
Oh my god! I can't wait. I can't wait to see the campaign, like the campaign ads for Sam Hyde as a senator, both pro and against him. Both of them are going to be amazing.
He's going to do it while filming Fish Tank, by the way. He's going to make the fish canned up. Like
who's gonna be his running mate? Is going to be decided through Fish Tank.
Yes, that's the winner of the season of Fish Tank gets to be his running mate.
Oh my god!
They have to do canvassing and everything. Well, the thing is, Sam Hyde is our version of the greatest normie success story. Sam Hyde going from jokes on Murdoch, going to completely normie tier on Twitter. Like you have Asmongold reacting to him. You know what I mean? He's been completely and utterly, never apologizing for everything. There's pictures of him throwing a fucking Roman, and no one cares. Right? There's another aspect of the vibe shift. Actually, Sam Hyde's...
He should stop at school every other month as well. Nobody says anything about it.
While defending Ukraine and Kyiv, obviously.
Busy guy. Very productive.
But the thing is, Sam Hyde, the entire story of Sam Hyde is the vibe shift in a microcosm. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? He's like patient zero of the vibe shift. But the whole Sam Hyde saga, basically, like
came up sort of dirtbaggy pre-2016, and then got involved into that scene, and then really embodied some of the ideas, and not a completely crazy way, but a pretty out there way, and suffered the consequences, and then wrote it out.
Yeah, he went bunkered down. He bunkered down and he finally got his one shot. And he absolutely, fate and talent met hand in hand, and Fortuna smiled upon him at this point. And you're seeing a much more tactical kind of recreation of the Sam Hyde effect on a larger scale. And what's happening with the MAGA movement right now, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Do you guys have anything else, or otherwise I think that might do it?
No, I think it's been almost an hour. Like it hasn't been a bad episode.
Yeah, and I think we might do more on some of this stuff later. But I think it was a good. Yeah, I think that was a good overview of the vibe shift as of early 2025. May have. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see these predictions come. We're not any better educated on this stuff than anyone else. We just, I guess, have some different perspectives to bring on it, and maybe Sam Hyde 2032. Fingers crossed. He can be the president of Venezuela in America.
Amazing.
Well, actually, I treat this as episode 0, right? Because this is basically day 0 of the Trump administration. I definitely think we should make a sequel to this, or like basically a much more planned out, I guess you could say, rather than out in the blue. I do definitely think like the first week or the first month of the inauguration, we should definitely pick up this topic again.
First 100 days of the administration, see if we got something right out of this discussion.
Yeah, I'm not hoping for much. My most optimistic thing actually is the triumvirate of the way lefties are shifting, because I think that's already kind of underway, and we'll just add this to our bucket of other side series along with Slop Kings. Slop Kings 2 is coming. I swear to God, we have plans for like 2 more Slop Kings at least. Along with some other stuff.
Where our norm actually, in another aspect in terms of vibe shift, we got to do our wheelhouse, which is the arts. How do you think the arts is going to react to the vibe shift? Like, do you think? Yeah. Well, Penguin already did a little bit because of Honor Levy, right? Like tasteful, red, scare, reactionary, mentioning Nick Land. You know, he signaled the Atomwaffen. If you look at his Wikipedia, he still bring up the Atomwaffen shit.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah, they still do. And Penguin public, like, you realize, again, from old head standards, that there will be. There's no way in hell you can reference Nick Land in a short story collection like this. But honor, you think we're going to see more honor levies? Are going to see a field of honor out in the future?
I know you want to see a whole lot of field of honor. I know that.
Trapped in doggy doors.
Well, the doggy doors are going to be a trap. It's going to be a trap for the right wing chuds. Mm-hmm. Do you think you're going to see more quote unquote chuddy? Like people being published by Big Lit, or like do you think so?
God, this is a whole other aspect. Actually, I posted about this on X. Is the top 100 books for 2020? You know, we need to do a whole other episode on this, but I'll just quick thought. 2020 versus 2024. Top 100 books of 2020. Racist Baby. Actually, that might not have been in it, but it was like the white. What's that? The horrible woman. White Flight.
Wait, the racist baby? You mean the anti-racist baby, or
like the anti-racist baby? It was like 2 Obama books. It was White Fragility. It was like 2 other libtard books and like a Trump book. And in 2024, it was like 2 Trumpish type books and a bunch of non-political. Like the taste in the top 100 like actual purchase books has shifted significantly in that period. People just are not buying. They're embarrassed to have on their coffee table an Obama book at this point, or God forbid a Kamala book. Like, it's humiliating for 90% of like liberal people.
Right.
But how much that filters into traditional publishing, since so much of their money just comes from the very hungry caterpillar, I don't know. You know, they're probably going to be a very resistant, because it's not a profitable industry. They'll probably be the last nut to crack. Would be my guess.
It's the last nut to crank.
Less.
Well, actually,
that's a whole other topic. I think.
Do you think? Do you think they could be used as containment? Because remember, like the next generation's Dan Baltic, rather than let him go join the Chuds and be independently published or published by New Ritual Press, maybe the Penguin. Oh, we can, to prevent radicalization, we'll hire men, and they're allowed to publish like I hope they serve beers in hell-esque early 2010s era like bro stuff. Like, do you think as a tool containment?
I don't know if they will. I feel like I've heard this be proposed basically for the last decade, of people like, oh, they're gonna try to appease men. They're gonna try to appease men. I don't think they're too ideological about it. I think that they rather the publishers don't even generate money to begin with. I don't think they could expect it. They're just gonna keep it going as it is, and they're gonna become more detached. And if there's any literary scene, it's going to be always like niche on the side with like all these other publishers that are popping up that are independent.
Well, yeah. You're going to see more parapolitics, like in Luigi thing. You're going to see Mark Fisher, capitalist realism is going to make a comeback. All the acid theory cells, theory leftism is going to come back again. I think to a large degree, leftism is going to maybe become whiter for all intents and purposes, just to share survival instincts. I think that's an aspect of it. But from the arts, I'm very curious how mainstream art, again, literature for us, will we get a major foothold? Will Passage Prize be forced to sit next to will Passage Prize open up a first right-wing bookstore? Because there's another aspect some French guys talked about. In France, you can have right-wing bookstores. That's actually a very common thing. Same thing in Russia. Will we have a Passage Prize pop shop down the street of Washington, D.C. in the coming months, where all the chuds gather, or the Sovereign House or something like this, Like once Barnes & Noble dies, eventually from the TikTok drought, in a lot of ways, it's going to be interesting to see how things manifest into real world and real community stuff. Like how much, because we're the right wing is much more confident now. Maybe it's a false confidence, but nevertheless, I think you're going to see much more open, out and proud events, parties, gatherings, that kind of thing going into the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm afraid that it's going to be like in 2016, though, that it's like the right wing also got very confident, and instead what ended up happening is that you had the whole Hailgate with Richard Spencer, right? And that whole side, like the alt-right, just kind of shriveled up and died. And what remained of the MAGA movement was like the Mohican-based black guy kind of movement, you know? Mm-hmm. And I think that's what could happen if they start becoming more public. They're going to try to steer it into the direction of like, look at all these based Indians and look at all these based women or whatever, and try their best to like steer it away from white people.
Well, Passage has been doing a good job. Lomez and Passage have been doing a pretty decent job of practicing their tequila or Ketman with this. They've been trying their very best to kind of signal high class, tasteful, elite human capitalization with these classy balls and stuff like this. The crypto angle helps a lot with that. I generally do not see anything like Seaville happening ever again. I really don't see anything grassroots.
They didn't either. I guess I'm in a middle position. I think we need to be careful of being overconfident, particularly as more people that identify with more the fringer side of it, because the worm can turn faster than you think. If something does shift in it. Which is why I think it's worthwhile to watch these trends closely for people like us. But I want to try and keep this tight. So let's touch base again. Maybe the three of us in a month or two or three, and see how the vibe shift continues, and do vibe shift check-in number 2.
Revibrations. That's a sequel name. Revibrations.
Oh hell yeah, Revibrations. But before we close, end of the episode, gang. If you're listening, please like, comment, subscribe on any application, podcatcher, whatever the heck you're on, YouTube. It hugely helps us spread it and get more people to be aware of our little corner of the internet. And I don't know, anything else you guys want to shout out?
I'd like to appreciate Penultimo for showing up, one of our top-tier talented tuggers, and one of many of our elite human capital of our Discord server, which is now temporarily open. David's been listening way too much to Richard Hania's podcast, and he realizes open borders are a good thing. The free flow of capital. So temporarily, before we inaugurate our own Calvin Coolidge policy, where we only allow true aristocrats of noble birth to come back in, we would like to thank all of our top tuggers, all our top-tier talented tuggers, like Oz, who created beautiful fan art. We have the best fan art, less than a year old, and we get better fan art than Double Dealer. The amount of fan art Double Dealer gets is 0. They are
no fans, no art. I mean, no art in what they do either, so makes sense.
So we can never ask for a better fan base, for better tuggers. You are the best tuggers. Y'all give the top tugs that I've ever received. And for all our fans, we'd like to generally say thank you, good night, and good tugging. Penultimo?
I appreciate you guys inviting me here. I appreciate that I graduated from tugger to tuggy, tug receiving. And it's like, yeah, I'm glad. It feels good being on this side of the table. Receiving the pay pigs instead of being a pay pig.
You're no longer a little homie. You're now officially an associate. Cut this. You will cut this. This is one of the game cuts you have to cut. All right.